Om Shanti. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. So today is the Murli study for the 5th of March of 2024. And I have taken it upon myself to retranslate the Murli. And so we'll read that and then move into our discussion with Sister Rose. So, Om Shanti. Sweet sons, let go of your attachment and dependence on your own body and all physical people, places, and objects. Once you souls become pure and karmatit, then you will return to the home of light. Question: what is the soul afraid of and why? And the answer, the soul is much afraid of leaving the body because it is very attached to and identifies with the body. If, due to any grave distress, you want to finish off the body, that would be considered a sin, and you would have to suffer for that. At the confluence age, do not be afraid of anything. In fact, you are quite happy to leave your body when the time comes and return to the Father. Om Shanti. Sweet, sweet sons, you have understood that there is Gyan and there is Bhakti. This is fixed in drama. So the drama is about comparisons and contrasts. Everything must have a foil in order to be known. Everything is relative to everything else. So Baba often says that the drama is about victory and defeat, male and female, rise and fall, pleasure and pain. The drama moves from perfect to imperfect, high to low, pure to impure, heaven to hell. There is no evolution. The passage of time means falling, declining, deterioration. So this Murli is also about preparation for death. Other than you, no one knows about the beginning, continuation, and end of the drama. Only you know this. No one is afraid of dying in Satyuga. They all know they will leave their body and take another. There is no sorrow, neither for the dying nor for the bereaved. There is no cause for weeping. At this time of Kali Yuga, people are afraid of death. And when the soul leaves the body, it is often in distress and pain. People are afraid of death because it means taking another body in which they have to experience distress and hardship. You are at the confluence age. Baba has explained to you that now you will leave your body and return to your home, the world of light. It is also where God dwells. The world, material world, cannot be called your eternal dwelling place, but that region of light where incorporeal God and where you souls dwell is called the home. There is no physical body in that region. Here, people say, we live in Bharat, India. This is our home. Whereas you say, we souls dwell there, in that region of light. It is the home of we souls, and here it is the dwelling place of embodied souls. That region is called the world of liberation. People make effort to go to that region of light beyond where they believe they will meet God. In that case, they should be very happy to leave their bodies and go to meet God. However, souls have become very attached to their bodies in which the souls dwell. Therefore, even when they get slightly ill, they become afraid lest they might die. In the time before having this knowledge, you also must have been afraid of death. At this time of the confluence age, you know that now we are soon to go back and be with the Father, which is not a fearsome matter. The Father has given you very good strategies for this. He says that an impure soul cannot come to him in that world of liberation. That is the home of pure souls. Here, it is the home of embodied humans. The bodies are made of the 5 elements of matter, and matter has a magnetic power over souls. Ether, water, air, earth, and fire do not exist there in the world of nirvana. Mulvatan is the word for the incorporeal, non-material dimension. So mul also means original, fundamental. The Father is giving you ways to churn about the ocean of these concepts. The soul had taken various properties and due to this had developed attachment to material objects, including its body. Otherwise, we souls are dwellers of the incorporeal dimension. Now, we souls have to make the effort to neutralize the magnetic effect of matter and return to the incorporeal dimension. Once you souls become pure, then you can receive the freedom to enjoy all forms of benefit. There is no question of any suffering or hardship. The present time is the period of distress and hardship. The 5 elements of matter magnetically pull you down from the soul world above so that you can come to perform your role on earth. Very deep point. A soul must take the support of matter. If not, the game cannot take place. This is a quote from the Gita. The soul must take the support of matter. The game is of happiness and sorrow, profit and loss. This is the nature of the game. When spirit and matter come together, this game occurs. When you are in the time of happiness, you do not form attachment with your body. People live in purity, so there is hardly any attachment to the body, and they easily let go of attachment to the body. When we become pure, there in the golden age, bodies are formed through the power of yoga. Therefore, there is no magnetic pull of Maya, the attraction to what is perceived through the five senses. So you have the magnetic pull of matter and the magnetic pull of appearances. Also, because our bodies are created through the power of yoga, there is no experience of hardship, sorrow, or suffering. This drama is most extraordinary. This is a very subtle and refined matter to understand. Those with very refined intelligence and who are experienced in teaching the knowledge are able to explain it well. The Father has said there is a spiritual law that whatever you give is not lost. You don't lose it. As you continue to give the knowledge to others, you are able to understand it progressively more deeply. If you do not teach, you cannot develop the capacity to acquire deeper understanding of Gyan. The more you give the knowledge accurately, the more you grasp it as it really is. Do not think that you can gain greater insight into the knowledge just by writing your churnings. If you work with the intelligence of another by written correspondence with others, such that your teaching is both oral and written, then you will develop greater insight into the knowledge. By working with the intelligence of another, you are benefiting them. And this process of benefiting others enables you to be benefited yourself. This is a spiritual law. It doesn't help you to just write the knowledge down and then throw away the papers. You need to understand that if you write the knowledge, it is for the purpose of being used meaningfully by someone else. The knowledge gets amplified through being given to others. If you write it and then throw it away, it is not made fertile. It means you are cheating or betraying yourself. The purpose of the knowledge is to get absorbed. So absorbed into you, absorbed into others. And this process occurs when it is shared from one to another. If Baba writes something, it's not so that it remains stuck in his throat. He will speak it out, or Brahma Baba used to write a lot. His name, Dada Lekraj. Lekraj means the king of the written word. Very interesting to have that as a name. Baba speaks and explains to you every day. Firstly, you need a connection with the Father. Through remembrance of the Father, your soul is progressively purified. Then, when you reach the golden age, you remain pure. Both soul and body remain pure. Although this power, this yoga power, gradually gets depleted, when half your power is gone, then the power of matter magnetically pulls your soul to itself. That's the change from the Silver Age to the Copper Age. In order for the soul to be able to return to the home of light, there must be the desire to leave the body. When you become pure, you will slide out of your body with the ease of a hair being pulled from butter. At the present time, when people die, they don't want to die. They resist, they hold on. And this is why Baba said there must be a desire to leave the body, desire or readiness. You're willing to leave the body when the time comes. Doesn't mean that you try and leave the body before time. Now, you are engaged in a practice by which you gradually let go of your attachment to your body and to all your things. We souls arrived here without our bodies. We were pure and we were not bound to the material world. During the time of the Golden Age, when someone leaves their body, nobody cries. At that time of leaving the body, there is no distress, no illness, and there is no attachment to the body. Death is a voluntary matter. The soul plays a role, and when a body gets old, the soul just takes another in order to play its next role. The kingdom of Ravan does not exist there in the Golden Age. The kingdom of Ravan not being there means there is no dominance of sense perception and no materialism. The soul just uses matter to perform. At the present time, your heart's desire is to return to Shiv Baba. So Baba says, stay in my remembrance and you will come. This knowledge is clear in your understanding. So the Father says, become pure and come. At this time, all are impure, and due to this, you are attached and identify with the body, which is like a puppet or a robot. And therefore, you do not desire to leave it. In fact, your conscience says that it is good to leave the body and go to the Father. At this time, you are engaged in the spiritual effort for becoming pure and free so that you can naturally go to Shiv Baba. Baba has said, you were mine, now remember me, and your soul will become pure and you will go. You will not experience any difficulty taking birth in a new body. At this time, there is attachment with the body, so you go to medical doctors to cure your illnesses. When you recognize that your condition is terminal, then you can be happy that now I am going to God. You understand that your connection with this body is terminating. You got your body for you to play your role through it. It's like an avatar in a video game. In the Golden Age, both body and soul remain very healthy. There is no trace of hardship or distress. Therefore, you should pursue this spiritual practice to acquire the capacity to be free from the magnetic force of matter. The power of your yoga needs to be greater than the force of gravity. So there's two kinds of gravity, one that keeps your body on the earth and the other that keeps your soul connected to your body. So you have to figure that out. But there's a big power. Now, you are returning to Shiv Baba. You are preparing yourself for leaving the body. However, until you have accumulated sufficient power of yoga and become pure, until you have attained the karmatit stage, you will not be able to leave your body spontaneously. Any people who are not fully conversant with this knowledge cannot process these concepts. These thoughts will arise in your minds, but not in the minds of others, that it is now time for us to go back. Initially, the soul had power and lived in happiness. There was never any fear. Here in the Iron Age, there is distress, pain, and therefore people engage in religious rituals. However, they do not know the way to return to the home of light. It is only the one Father who tells you the way to return back. You are happy when you think about returning back to Shiv Baba. Baba explains that your problem is that you are inextricably attached to your body. You must figure out how to extricate yourself from this attachment. The body is made of the 5 elements of matter, and all this is Maya. Maya means to be under the illusion that your body is you. Whatever the soul sees through the eyes, your visual perception, is Maya. That means it is only physical matter that gives the appearance of being attractive or repulsive, not more than that. In the Iron Age, all things ultimately give you pain and distress. Here, things are unclean and polluted. In heaven, all bodies are first class, and you will live in first-class palaces. There is nothing that could give you any distress or hardship. This game is most extraordinary. You should ponder upon this. If you do not understand the depth and subtlety of this, then at least tell people to remember the Father, and then their negative karma will be neutralized, and they will go to heaven. We are souls. We receive this appendage of the body subsequently, but we do not need to be caught up in it. It is just an appendage. The Father explains that at this time it is the rule of Ravan, materialism, where there is only hardship and suffering, but there is no question of distress in Satyuga. Now, through the remembrance of the Father, continue to take power, because you, the soul, have become very weak. Body consciousness is the main element that weakens you. Baba explains that the drama is fixed. It cannot stop. There's no question of eternal liberation for anyone. The drama is predestined. There is no point in getting anxious about what is destined to happen, what might happen. You don't know what it's going to be till it comes. But you do know that whatever had taken place in the past will definitely take place once again. There is no need to be worried. In Satyuga, nothing goes badly. Here, people worry about many things, and Baba says all occurrences are in the drama. The Father has shown you the way. Follow these instructions and you will reach me. You will emerge from your situations like a hair being pulled through butter. Just remember me, and your soul will become pure. There is no other way. Now you understand that you are sitting in the rule of Ravan, materialism, sense perception. The golden age is the rule of the effect of God. It is a game of the rule of God and the rule of evil. No one knows how God comes to establish his kingdom. The Father is called the ocean of knowledge. He comes and explains everything to you. Now you are gradually coming to understand all the knowledge. And then you will forget everything. You will forget the study by which you had attained your status. Once you arrive in heaven, you forget all this knowledge. You will know nothing of how God himself had made you the double-crowned emperor of the world. If he, Brahma, did not know this before, then what can those who read other scriptures know? They will not even be touched when they encounter this. When you come and hear this, you are immediately touched by it. You recognize it. This is a secret phenomenon. The Father is talking to you. Is he visible? You understand that the soul cannot be seen. You understand that the soul is there. It is possible to have a vision of the soul through the divine eye. Baba says, what can you possibly understand by just having a vision of it? The soul is an infinitesimal point of light, and there is an infinite number of souls. You might see a vision of 10 or 20 souls, but you cannot understand anything about them by just having a vision. Many people have visions of souls, but you cannot know whether you are seeing a soul or whether you are seeing the Supreme Soul. They all look the same in visions. As you sit in contemplation, you can see small, tiny dots, but you cannot know whether you are seeing a soul or the Supreme Soul. You cannot know how much power is within all these tiny souls. The soul is a master. He leaves one body and incarnates into another in order to play his role in a male or female body. It is a phenomenon. If a person becomes ill or they go bankrupt, they think that is a good reason for leaving their body. That means thinking about committing suicide. They think they will leave their body and become free from their troubles. However, by doing that, they will have incurred a heavy weight of sin on their heads. How will they get free from that? You are making spiritual efforts for the sake of yourself. By remembrance of God, the weight of the sin on your head gets alleviated. Due to being under the influence of Ravan, materialism, sense perception, you accumulated a lot of sin, and the Father is telling you the way to remove the burden of that weight. He simply says, remain in my remembrance. As you continue to sit in remembrance, you will spontaneously leave your body. Your sin, etc., will all vaporize. However, it is not so easy to sit in accurate, focused remembrance. While you are sitting in remembrance, Maya will harass you a great deal. It will cut off your connection and distract you to prevent you from remaining in mental communion with me. It will make you disconnect, forget, and get distracted again and again. Brahma Baba is speaking from his own experience. He says, I try a lot, but Maya gets me stuck. Both God and Maya are together, each applying their own force, and due to that, I again and again get disconnected. It is very difficult. Again and again, some or another person enters my mind. You are making very good spiritual efforts. Maybe this is Shiv Baba talking to Brahma Baba. You are making very good spiritual efforts. Some get caught up in gossip. They keep their charts of remembrance for 10 to 15 days and then they leave it. You have to be very assiduous to keep this up. They do understand that when they become pure and reach the karmatit stage, they will win. Success, right? This is a godly lottery. You have to remain in the remembrance of the Father. This is the race of remembrance. It is a matter of understanding with your intelligence. Although many may say that they do stay in remembrance of the Father, yet the Father knows that they have no idea how to sit in remembrance. There is a vast difference in the status of each one. See how the kingdom is set up. You had achieved and then lost the kingdom many times. Shiv Baba comes to teach you every 5,000 years. Then, when it is time, the time of the rule of Ravan, materialism, sense perception, you go on the sinister path. So sinister is a Latin word meaning the left-hand side. And so if you look at the picture of the cycle, face on, you will see Golden Age and Silver Ages on the right-hand side and Copper Age and Iron Age is on the left-hand side. And so left is always associated with fall from grace, failure, being under the influence of negativity, and so on. And so this word sinister, which means left, has come to mean something quite not good. You go against what is real. Those who were gods and goddesses fall out of soul consciousness and become body conscious. The Father is telling you very deep and subtle concepts so that you are able to remain in the remembrance of the Father. It is simple, but very subtle. You leave the body and return to the Father. First, you have to know me. And then, by the power of yoga, your negative karma can be destroyed. So this sentence is worth discussion. So your negative karma can be destroyed, vaporized. This will occur later on. Until now, no one has returned back to the region of nirvana. No matter what spiritual or religious practice someone does, correct yoga can only be done when I come and teach it. Sheikh Baba. Then this power of yoga sustains you for the ensuing half kalpa. You live in extreme prosperity. On the path of bhakti, people devise all kinds of methods that they call yoga. When the Father arrives and gives the knowledge, then bhakti has no further meaning. Through knowledge, there is the day and there is no hardship. Bhakti is the night of slipping and sliding. In heaven, there is no question of any hardship or distress. All these things will sit in the intelligence of those sitting here who are the saplings of the new civilization. These are very subtle and refined concepts. This knowledge is most extraordinary, which can only be explained by the Father. No others can explain this. And there are very few of you who understand this. It is fixed in the drama. There can be no changes. Devotional people believe that God can do anything. However, God the Father comes only once in the cycle to tell you the path to achieve heaven. Now you sons have acquired a very broad understanding. These two are together, Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba. If this Brahma sees someone, he understands that he must give them peace. By simply looking at a person, he can understand whether or not this person belongs to our clan. It is the task of serviceable sons to check the pulse of those who come. If they do belong to our clan, then they will become quiet. That means they will listen to the knowledge and not argue about it. Acha. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found sons, love, remembrance from the mother and the father. And the spiritual father says, Namaste to the spiritual sons. Namaste. So the points for dharana: become pure, and return to the home with the Father. For that, become free from attachment to this puppet made of the 5 elements. Do not be afraid of leaving your body. Secondly, keep the chart of your remembrance carefully, and by the power of yoga, let the soul become pure, become karmatit, and win the godly lottery. The blessing is, may you become such a powerful soul that instead of accepting your accomplishments as your own, you reveal the practical source of those accomplishments. The practical proof of the accomplishments of all of you will now be revealed. Anything that was spoilt will easily be put right with your drishti and your cooperation. You will not say, yes, it will happen, to prove your accomplishments, but your directions make it clear, and subjects will then quickly be created. People will emerge from all directions and come to you. This part of revealing your accomplishments will now be performed, but you first have to become so powerful that you do not accept that success is your own. Then Shiv Baba will be revealed. And the slogan is, celebrate the meeting with Baba while stable in the Avyak stage, and the treasure store of blessings will open. Om Shanti. Om Shanti, Sister Rose.
Om Shanti, Sister Denise.
Sorry, my voice is a little bit getting cracked up, but had a drink.
Still, thank you. Thank you so much for the effort you have made and continue to make the Murli more understandable and relevant and useful for us.
My pleasure. This is something I feel bound to do. And, so here it is.
And a comment just came in from the Zoom and saying the same thing. Thank you, Sister Denise. Murli is much more meaningful now.
Good, good.
Sister Denise, as you mentioned, a deep point, which is the power of yoga. And this power of yoga, through this power of yoga, the negative karma can be vaporized.
Yeah, and also through the power of yoga, you neutralize the pull of matter on the soul. It's very interesting. You know, I mean, there are many people who are in this gathering today with a Christian background. And there's one interesting thing in Christian doctrine that relates to this. So it is said regarding the crucifixion of Jesus that he had conquered sin and death. And there's also in India this expression that through yoga you conquer matter and Maya. And so conquering means, according to this Murli, it means that it doesn't have any power over you, like it's a kind of gravitational pull or a magnetic pull. I use the word magnetic because it's like that, because it's not magnet like iron, but it's something like that. And our power of yoga is a power, a spiritual power that neutralizes that power of matter. to keep the soul stuck in the body. And that's a very, very deep thing. I mean, it's pretty well known in Gyan, but as far as I can tell, hardly any BKs know about it. And so for us to have that power of yoga, we have to really understand what yoga is, and I don't think many people know what yoga is. And he has been talking about it, that like in this Murli says, you have to know me to have yoga. You have to have a connection with me to have yoga. So there's a lot of BKs who just spend time in silence, because Baba had talked about silence, but they're in silence without being connected to Baba. Or they're in silence thinking that they shouldn't have any thoughts. But Dadi Janki once clarified that no, that's not yoga at all. And okay, it won't hurt you to sit for hours and hours in silence, but it's not really yoga. It won't enable you to acquire that power. What sitting in silence will do is, depending on how you do it, but it can enable you to be a bit more concentrated. It can enable you to be aware about what kind of thoughts come up and deal with them. But when people focus on physical silence, they don't deal with what goes on in the mind when you do that. And so in order to be in the silence that Baba's talking about, it means that you have to be moving the knowledge around in your mind and moving your relationship with Baba around in your mind so that you are in communion with him. So you're not talking because you're busy doing something else. But if you're not talking just for the sake of not talking, then you experience stress, you see. And some people get bad effects from that. So, yoga really, for yoga, you really have to have your mind engaged with Baba, and you have to practice to be detached from the consciousness of the body. And you have to deal with all of the stuff that comes up in your mind, and again turn your mind to Baba. And you can't do that unless you have a full living relationship with Baba. And this is why he says you have to have all relationships with me. This is why he says you have to do all activities in my remembrance. And then you're engaged with him, and you're really able to shift to these different dimensions. A lot of BKs don't really get that. So you can't acquire yoga power unless you get that. And to get that, you need to really study the knowledge deeply. And this is really why I try to make the Murli in the kind of language that we're used to just make it somehow more relevant to our general way of thinking, so that we can use our minds to connect with Baba without a kind of filter of other stuff that can sometimes get in the way if the translation is culturally alien. So that's what I try to do. Yeah.
So in yoga, the soul is then naturally awake and alert and active, and does not depend on the music or commentaries, which are still external.
Well, that's right. I mean, why do we put music? I think it's maybe to cover any ambient noise that happens to be around, because the world is a noisy place. Um, why do we have meditation commentaries? Bad idea. Um, it's for people who haven't meditated before. It's not for BKs. BKs who sit and listen to meditation commentaries are riding piggyback on somebody else's mind, and they're not engaged with Shiv Baba. So I would not do that. But the problem is, all these things are connected with large gatherings. And so fair enough. You don't know who's in, some new people, some old people, whatever. But I feel that, in order to accumulate yoga power, you need to have time meditating on your own, and really work with your mind and intellect and conscience, and get access to your subconscious, because when you're doing that, then all of your sins come up and disturb you in the mind, and you have to use your powers to get through them. And the mind, or the Maya, or the matter, or the sin, whatever it is going to pull your mind to it, and going to make you think certain things because of it. And then Baba says, don't do that. Use the knowledge to think the kind of things that I'm suggesting to you, and keep yourself connected with me, because this tears the sin out of your soul. And when the heat, he talks about the heat of yoga, and so that means the intensity of your engagement with him is far more interesting than all this catastrophic stuff that is throwing itself into your conscious mind from your subconscious, and trying to get you to think all thoughts of weird and wonderful things that have nothing to do with anything. And it's just a tactic of this force of Maya, and to keep you under its control, you can say. But I don't think it's useful to personify Maya, because all the people do, they say Maya is she, and it's not a she or a he or anything. It's a force of matter, and the force of the effect on you of your negative karma, and also of some other people's negative karma to you. See, in Christianity and in most everywhere else, they never consider sin as what was done to you, because what was done to you will disturb your soul just as badly, if not more so, as what you do to somebody else. And you have to deal with that. You have to become neutral about it. And that's work, you see. And so this Murli I thought was particularly helpful, because it says, everything, whatever you can see or hear or anything, it's all a movie. And you need to distance yourself from that movie in order to neutralize its power over you. You see, when people make movies, they put lots of sex, lots of violence, lots of romance, lots of, high-speed car chases, and things which are designed to engage you, to make the adrenaline run, to amuse you, and it ties you up, you see, and then you pay good money for that. And life does that to you too, but this tying and involving keeps you tangled with it, so that your mind cannot turn to God. It cannot turn away from those things at will, because they have power over you. They can grab you like tentacles, just grabbing at your soul, And so you had to practice this in many different ways. And the study is really good because it engages your mind very powerfully. At least it engages my mind. And it's more interesting than all the stuff that's going on in your memory and in your surroundings, or any kind of gossip is really boring in comparison with this. So you go with it because it is so much more meaningful, so much more, it addresses things with so much more potency than the things of the world, which is just same old, and we need to be free.
Thank you, Sister Denise. And your love for the Murli is easily cascaded us in these forms. The way you retranslate the Murli, and as I said, makes it more understandable and relevant for us. So deep gratitude. This is Denise. The Murli, as you have said in the beginning, is about preparation for death, and the explanation on why many people nowadays are afraid of leaving the body is because of their attachment and their identities to their bodies. However, we are all souls, and as souls, we have gone through leaving the body several times. And so, even without the cognitive knowledge of I am a soul and I'm not this body, even for those who don't have this knowledge, the practice through many births are also in their sanskars. I am reminded of this because when my Lokik father left the body, immediately Maggie Ben saw him in his subtle body in the center. And according to Maggie, because somehow she can see him, but not me, and according to Maggie, he was smiling from ear to ear. And she said, "So what is your message to me?" And he said, "It is not, it is easy to leave the body after all." So I was, on one hand, surprised, but on the other hand, I'm also kind of glad that that was his experience, even without knowledge of all these things.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And of course, the Philippines is a special place because it's highly spiritual. And people traditionally, especially the pre-Christian spirituality in the Philippines, people are very aware of the subtle body and very aware of the possibility of being in contact with those who have left the body, and seeing the avyakt form of the one who has left the body is, there are many people who can do this. And there are quite a few BKs who can as well, not that many, but a few. And I've had that experience from time to time also. So it's like it's a normal part of the human experience, but it's not that common. But the other thing that Baba has said, if you noticed in this Murali, he said, as soon as you go to heaven, you will forget all this knowledge. And as soon as you leave your body, normally when you take birth again, you forget what your previous life was and how to die and everything. It's kind of safety mechanism. So I think one of the reason why people don't know or don't have access to that sanskar of leaving the body regularly is because they forget. And part of the reason, I think, is because if you don't forget, then you will also have multiple identities. You'll live a kind of very serious schizophrenic state, which is very difficult to function with. So it's kind of quite good to forget. Now, I don't know in the golden age if people remember their previous births. I have a feeling they probably do, but Baba never mentions it because everyone is very pure there and everyone is very connected to the others on the basis of what they had done in the previous confluence age. So these things we can speculate about, but he hasn't really spoken about it so much. And then the other thing he said is people are afraid of dying because they will have to take birth in a way as to in the womb, you see, when you take birth, you spend a few months in the womb, and there you experience the visions and punishments for your sins of the previous birth. So they are very wary about that, and in various different scriptures they talk about purgatory and hell and all this, and most of this is stuff that they experience in the womb in visions between after death and before actually emerging from the womb. But a lot of people don't know about this, you see. And so when he talks to us about living our life very, very pure, this is why, you see, because if you finish off all your sins, then you don't have any fear of death. And this fear of death, because of what's going to happen next, is not conscious knowledge, but subconsciously, and this provokes that fear. And your father obviously is a very good man. And so he found it easy. And he arrived in the center, smiling. And this happens very much with different people, BKs or people who are close to that and who are living spiritual lives. And then people who are not, or even BKs who are having multiple agendas, you can say, then they also get a lot of trouble because they have not been real. And so that's a problem for them. But these are mysterious things, you see, because they're outside of the tangible.
Sister Denise, in the Murli, it says that at this time there is attachment with the body. So you go to medical doctors to cure your illnesses. Somehow I have seen two scenarios because of this. Some BKs hesitate to go see a doctor because they are afraid they might be labeled as having attachment to their bodies. And the other scenario is that when some of them went to see a doctor, then they were labeled as having attachment. So it's kind of tricky. Like, where do we draw the line?
Well, first of all, it's absolutely essential to make yourself independent of BK public opinion because it can be catastrophic. And they don't know, who are they to judge whether you have attachment or not? Who are they? So it's, I think, very important to position yourself that the only one who can actually judge me is God. And anybody who wants to label me, let the label stick on you. It's none of your business, because my practice is between me and God. And if you want to make your comments about it, that's your problem, but not my problem. And I think it's a very, very important part of being in a spiritual community, to create a boundary between what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And that's up to you. You have to do that. You cannot allow yourself to be a slave of BK public opinion. What is this? That's not freedom. That's not soul consciousness. And so that's very essential.
Sister Denise, that is a very common occurrence.
It's a very common occurrence, but then you also have to, the classes have to be talked about this, you see, because if it's a common occurrence and it's a vice, no less than any of the other vices, then it needs to be talked about. Because otherwise, if people think it's okay to do that, they need to know that it's not. If nobody ever mentions it, then how will they know? Yeah. There's a lot of things that people do that are vices, but it's not identified. So people cannot practice not to do that. Just because it's very common doesn't mean it's spiritual or whatever. So you have to learn not to do it, and also not to let other people do it to you. And that's a whole learning process. That's all about being free, you see, and really make it clear to yourself that it's your practice is between you and God. And make it clear to other people that you're not interested in their opinion about your motivations, because it really is none of their business, and you must set that boundary. Otherwise, you are giving away your power, which is psychologically a really bad thing to do. You should not do that. And this is more strong in people who are having a very religious background, because religious communities are all the time talking about who's good and who's not good, and what does God think about whom, and they have no idea, but they go on and on about it. So you need to set that boundary and say, okay, I'm not interested in your comments because you have no clue what you're talking about. You need to say that to them again and again so that they get it, so that it's okay.
Okay. You need to say it, not just like an attitude from my part, but I need to say it.
Yeah, you need to say it. And then when you say it, they'll say, oh, you're arrogant. And you say, it's none of your business whether I'm arrogant or not. You are not God. Get out of it. You have to be assertive. Then they'll say, oh, you're not sweet. You say, have some sweet tea. Have a totally. But yeah, it's just very important to set limits and boundaries of this kind of social manipulation that people do. Not necessary.
Okay. Thanks. There's another point in the Murli where Baba says that it's a spiritual law that the more you give knowledge, the more you share knowledge, the more you're able to grasp it and understand it. Is this an absolute law? Because
law is a law, but you
well,
see,
yeah.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, because I have also seen that there are some who are always forefront in giving lectures and classes, but like the understanding, because understanding means for me is applying it.
Well,
And
that's not called teaching. When you're just giving lectures, if you're a Raj Yoga teacher, you're wanting to enable another person to understand the knowledge. Talking at them doesn't do any good to anybody, never did, never will. And giving lectures doesn't prove or disprove anything. So, I don't agree with all that. But when you have a one-on-one interaction with someone, they ask you a question, they say they don't understand something, you need to really go to where they are to and find out exactly what is in the way, and then go around in your mind to all the knowledge and bring the points that seem to be relevant to that person's question. And if that person gets a breakthrough and they can understand something that they couldn't understand before, you also will get a breakthrough, because you will also come to understand about that person's issue with the knowledge, and that is going to expand your understanding of the knowledge also. You see, so teaching is very different from giving lectures. You see, a teacher means you're working with the intelligence of another. That's why I put it in that way. Your intelligence, the other's intelligence, and Baba's knowledge, you're working with it together to enable there to be clarity. So that's how I think of it.
thanks for that clarification. So, Sister Denise, let me take up some of the questions. This is from Vanji. Whatever you see with the eyes is Maya, meaning it is physical. How will this play out in the Golden Age?
Well, in the Golden Age, we don't have any Gyan. So we need to really focus on that. When he's talking to us, he's instructing us how to do this practice, because in the Golden Age, nobody's attached and nobody's under the influence of matter or Maya or any of it. So it's not really an issue. But it is an issue at the moment, because people don't really grasp that everything that they can see is only matter, and that there's other things which is not material, which is more real than matter. And they need to learn how to be in contact with God and with the self, while surrounded by all these, thousands of TV shows that keep pulling your attention because you think it's real. And he's saying, okay, it is real, but only to the extent that a TV show is real. And you can turn the channel off, if you want. And it's just a method to enable yourself not to have these sense perceptions penetrate your being and take over. You see, this is why he's saying it. In the Golden Age, it doesn't happen like that. People are soul conscious and everything is very nice, but they don't really notice it, because it's like, so what,
There is a question from the Zoom. Today, there are many food intolerances, such as gluten, lactose, fructose, histamine, and so forth. And for 10 years, I've been on various treatments that don't work for me because I'm still a vegetarian. Fruits and vegetables that are low in fructose are high in histamine, and vice versa. Everyone tells me I should eat meat, fish, and practically no fruit and vegetables. But in BK, they say you cannot eat them. What to do in this case?
Well, I think you're going to have to, work out something with your nutritionist and work with that, you see, because again, you do what you can do. And if you can't do something that BK thinks you have to do, then, you're going to have to just take responsibility for your health situation without discussing it with the BKs who have their own opinions about things. Because it's between you and yourself, it's between you and God, and it's not between you and the BKs, because they are not your judge. Remember that. They are other players in the drama, and they do not have a right to push you around mentally, physically, socially, or any other way. So you have to set boundaries from that tendency that sometimes people have.
Another question. Baba proposes to stabilize yourself in the soul consciousness and act from there. But at the same time, there is a lot of talk in the Murli about directions for behavior modification, which is something that is in the religious movements like Hinduism, Buddhism, Catholicism. Can you clarify how to use soul consciousness for transformation and not just a spiritual makeup of trying to be good or adapting behavioral manners?
So you have to study the Murli yourself. And as I say, I'm trying to put it in an English that sort of keeps you free from all that other stuff, you see, because, I just work with the Hindi Murli, and you have Shiv Baba speaking, you have Brahma Baba speaking. Once you get translations, no matter which one it is, you're going to get the voice of the translator. So my voice obviously going to come in here too. And what I try to do is try to convey what Shiv Baba is saying about the spiritual laws. And, I'm not a religious person. I'm not very keen on religious organizations because of all of this behavior modification, because it identifies certain behaviors as being spiritual, which are actually cultural, and you need to know the difference. You need to use your power of discernment and work with that, you see, because you have to do this practice in not just the context of a few BKs who are around you, but of the larger world, you see. And who are you? And what are your values? And there's no such thing as universal values. There's no such thing as spiritual values. All values are cultural. And then sometimes Baba talks about Brahmin culture. So Brahmin culture is not what the other Brahmins are doing necessarily. Brahmin culture is what you think it is on the basis of your study. Make yourself that. And don't be just caught up in a big tsunami of BK opinions about how you should or shouldn't behave, because that's kindergarten. I don't think we need that.
Sister Denise, I think this will be for the last question. Part of me is happy to experience the highest of high happiness in Golden Age. But then the other part feel despondent about the suffering of death that I have to feel for the 63 births. 63 deaths due to attachment. Is this normal? Or should I think all is predestined, so all is good? Should the motivation that after 63 births, I will meet Bap Dada keep me going?
Well, all these things are speculations based on nothing of any substance, you see. So I don't think your thinking is helpful for you when you create premises which are not verifiable. Better, I think, is to say, okay, at the present time, you are bound to matter and Maya to an extent which is individual to you. And you need to try to capture and grasp, where you are stuck, where you are attached, where you are free, and work with where you are attached, and not speculate on stuff that you cannot know anything about. And you have no idea how you're going to feel in the golden age anyway. Baba says your highest happiness happens actually in the confluence age, where you grasp who God is and that he's talking to you. And, in the golden age, every time in the translation you see the word happiness, what it really means is prosperity. So you will have lots of stuff, but you will not care about it because it's normal, it's like air that you breathe. And all your focus of attention needs to be on the present time and what you're dealing with, because you're doing spiritual work. Then you're also looking at it in the context of gold, silver, copper, iron. So you need to understand that when you are fully in your spiritual power, everything is perfectly harmonious and it's great. And you are now in a state of returning to that condition. And so making speculations about how you may or may not feel at different times is a waste of time, because there's no way you can know. And you're just unnecessarily giving yourself a hard time for no reason, based on nothing. So don't do that. It's called waste thoughts.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sister Denise. One of the points that was very striking for me was when you said, or when you explained about Maya, that it is the illusion, to be under the illusion that your body is you.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And you may say, I'm not a body, but all of the way that you handle yourself and respond to different provocations proves that you may say you're not a body, but you act as though you are a body. And so then you have to catch it. And that's very subtle spiritual work. And you cannot arrive at this by using any other religious approaches or bhakti approaches or any books or whatever, because they're all based on human ideas, which are all based on sense perception. I've noticed there have been a few comments flying around in the chat, but that's not going to help you. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Denise. Really, it helps us in navigating our own inner work.
Thank you very much. And thanks to everyone. And see you next time.